Let's talk about converting sheds into off-grid cabins or tiny homes. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. So I'm in a different shed here, and I haven't yet finished sweeping this one out, but it is also going to move to our staging area where it will get converted into an off-grid office, farm office, and we're gonna talk through a lot of the steps and what we're gonna do to make it happen. And we're gonna make it as close to builder's grade as possible. Now, one thing you'll notice about this shed versus the other one, it has the double or triple uprights here. See this what I was talking about with the headers and such. But anyway, this particular shed here is much larger. It has some small lofts for storage, but it's gonna have the same challenges as before. So like I said in the previous videos, we're gonna do a course about how to convert these, and I'm gonna bring in builders and experts. It's not gonna be a very long course, by the way, because you can turn a shed into a cabin very easily. And we're gonna talk about the good, better, and best option. And the good option is to convert an existing shed. If you already own this shed will be almost $10,000 if I were to buy it today. I didn't pay that much, but it would be more than $10,000 if I bought it today. And so we wanna make the very best of it and have it as close to code as possible, not because we wanna make people happy, but because the code itself helps us with fire ratings, it helps us with the thermal uptake, it makes it possible to insure your shed. So let's say you've got an off-grid property, and by the way, the best option is not to convert a shed. And I'll just give that to you up front. We'll show you what the best option is. But when we go through the reinforcing and we go through the insulating and we go through everything, we wanna make sure the shed's gonna last 10 to 15 years in regular use, even if we have to move it around a little bit. Because you might have a property today where you're starting your homestead or you're starting your off-grid cabin. And of course, I'm gonna show you all the mistakes people make because there's a lot of shed conversions that are for sale on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. I'm gonna show you the mistakes that people make and what you can do instead, because we're gonna save you tens of thousands of dollars creating your off-grid paradise. So this particular building is gonna be an office space for the farm. So we have to be able to store paper records, which means we have to control moisture. And so these codes help us control moisture. They help us with the different things like the breathability of a structure, the fire rating of a structure. We are gonna be a little bit more industrial in our setup because again, it is a farm activity and we're gonna have this building not for living in, but to be on a farm. And so people are gonna be in and out all day. Now, like I said with the other shed, this opening is not a standard door structure, but we can't easily insulate those doors. So what we're thinking is kind of a Japanese or minimalist style where we build in some sliding doors or something that we can step into a ginkan space, kind of take off your boots type of space. And then we would step up into a little office nook where we're gonna have a place to set down the laptop. We're gonna have a place to do filing, bookkeeping, all the stuff people don't realize they have to do when you're running a legitimate farm or homestead. We're gonna have that set up to do in a building like this. So this is gonna be moved over to our base camp location, put up on blocks. One of the things you have to be aware of is that these structures have to be lifted 3 foot up in the air to spray foam underneath them or to install insulation under them. They have to be blocked up high enough that a human can get under there to put up the insulation, moisture barriers, different things like that. But we're gonna show you the good, better, and best options so that you can convert an existing structure into an off-grid cabin. We're gonna go over the electrical work. We're gonna go over insulation, water sealing. Building like this, for example, a bear could just crawl right through the wall. It doesn't take much for them to scratch out those materials. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the reinforcing of the structure in the lofts. We're gonna talk about all the bits and bobs so that you can do an off-grid cabin starting from what you've got, which this is a decent space. I'm gonna back it to the corner and show you how decent this space is. This is gonna be excellent. We wanna have at least 2 offices and then a small kitchen area so we can have snacks and stuff ready. But basically this is primarily an office. I'll probably put a podcast studio in here so when I'm participating in the mastermind, I've told you about that in other places, I'm participating in the mastermind that I'll also be able to kind of have a decent backdrop and no interruptions. We'll have a little like storage space in here for file cabinets. There'll be a bunch of file cabinets in here for all of the records and, you know, the newsletters and different things. But again, moisture, fire rating, security, defense against people, defense against animals. All of these things have to be considered so that this structure will last 10 to 15 years. Now, could we build the structure to last longer? Yes. Your good option, which is converting a shed, is going to be 10 to 15 years, minimal maintenance. Then there's some refab that we're going to talk about. I've already interacted with some shed manufacturers and companies that do kit houses or kit cabins. And then we're going to interview industry experts. We're also going to talk about the best option, which is going to give you a lifetime building. And you'll be surprised how cost effective it can be. But I've already caveated, if you're going to invest what it would normally cost to build a house, because they sell 1,000 square foot tiny houses on trailers for $98,000. If you think you can build one for cheaper, you can build it for cheaper, but it isn't going to be anywhere near as good, and you'll have to replace it. And that's why we're investing time, money, and effort into an actual build your own off-grid cabin course. I am not an expert in this. That's why I'm going to bring in experts, and I'm going to be your reporter answering your questions, working with attendees in the course themselves, and making sure that everybody gets their questions answered, and then we get the information that you need. I've already visited a few sites where we're going to meet some nonprofits that build small houses. Now, this is going to be an off-grid cabin, not a tiny house. This is going to be on a foundation. It could be a temporary foundation. It could be a permanent foundation. We'll talk about the options that are available. But again, we need the lofts for storage. So if we're putting long-term files up, we can put those files up top. We can put our file cabinets down on the bottom. We can have our desks with areas to work. And then we're going to have a little kind of kitchen nook with a pantry so that we can have snacks and hot water for tea. And we're going to insulate this roof so that it doesn't mold and all kinds of issues that come up with that. We're going to have to make this structure secure because we do have bears and coyotes and raccoons and other stuff that might want to drill a hole through the wall and eat all your stuff. And then ultimately, we want to keep mice out. We want to keep rats out. We want to keep other things from getting up under the foundation. There will be a number of considerations that you'll have to face as well when you're building your off-grid cabin. And I want to get away from the word tiny house because, again, this is not a tiny house. This is a structure that's designed, let's say you had a couple bunk beds in it and it was for hunting. Let's say it had a wood stove in it, for example. What are considerations there? If it has running water and gray water, what are the considerations there? What do we do for sanitation? All of that and more will be covered. Now, the reason I'm recording this video is because I want your questions below. I want this to be an interactive experience where I answer all of your questions. I bring in experts to help you with this because I'll tell you, a lot of these YouTube videos, you'll see them, and this is typical, before I wrap this up, this is typical. They will build a shed conversion, and then in 3 or 4 videos later, not even a year or two, they'll be building something else. And then the shed becomes maybe a she shed, but most likely it goes back to storage because it is not, it does have moisture and it has mold and it has the siding rotting through and it has roof leaks and it has all the things that are typical to a shed when there is a better solution. So again, the course is going to cover good, better, and best. It's going to be moderately priced because, again, we're going into a lot of effort here to get this to you. I could just convert these and not have to do a video. But again, this program will save you tens of thousands of dollars because a proper conversion could still be $175 a square foot, including the price of the building, not including labor, $175 a square foot. And again, this is being the shed I showed in the previous video is going to be a cabin where people might sleep in it seasonally. And this one right here is going to be an office space, probably a podcast studio where it'll be used during the day for our for the farm paperwork, all the paperwork that farms have. You need some place to doing that. Anyway, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. Ask your questions below. I want to see lots of engagement. I want to see a lot of questions to know that I'm on the right track of solving a problem that a lot of folks are having. I know you're watching all these videos that they show the barndominium and the tiny house and the shed conversion, and people getting repoed sheds, people living in cardboard boxes, stealth camping, all this stuff. This is how you save tens of thousands of dollars. This is how you get a building, or you convert a building you have in such a way that you get the maximum life out of it, and that you ultimately don't make a lot of the common mistakes that are being made all around you. But again, if you don't know their mistakes, very often you might think they're best practices and then have to suffer with floors rotting out, with structures twisting and bending, sheds that can't be moved because it cracks all the drywall in it, sheds that don't have enough insulation and you're freezing your ass off or burning a lot of wood, sheds that aren't fire resistant so that you end up burning wood, then burning down the shed and then dying, sheds that don't have egress or cabins that don't have egress. If you want a cabin that's under 500 square feet and you want to be able to just drop it on a piece of property and then not have to worry about it, and it be secure from bears, and it be secure from outsiders, and it be secure from mold. By the way, that board going across the vent up there is a candidate for mold because the cool, moist air is going to come in across that log right there. So again, we're going to talk about all these things, all the structural updates, all the changes, all the things that need to happen for snow load, all the things that need to happen for trees falling on it, all of the things that need to happen to have a safe and secure structure that's going to have years of memories, experiences, a lifetime of enjoyment. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. You can visit us at www.prosperityhomestead.org, or you can comment below and ask all the questions you have about either shed conversion or building your first off-grid cabin in a way that lasts and saves you time, money, and resources, and gets you to enjoyment as fast as possible. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.